Hello dog lovers, my name is Saro. I'm a dog trainer and I coach dog owners. In this episode, I'm going to talk about whether if it's okay to off-leash your dog or not. Me and Harvey are in the park today and we're going to explore it a little bit, and I'm going to talk about if it's okay to off-leash your dog or not. Your dog may not be ready to be off-leashed. Stay tuned. Hello dog lovers, today me and Harvey are going to talk about and explain whether if it's okay to off-leash your dog or not. One of the biggest mistakes that dog owners make is either they off-leash their dog too early or when the dog is not ready. So I'll explain what I mean by that. By the way, we are in a beautiful park in Capilano Park in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So what I mean by having the dog off leash too early is sometimes people, they don't take the time to train their dogs to be off leash ready in order for them to be off leash, and then off leash the dog too early. So the dog is not ready to be off leash. Most dogs, especially puppies, are not ready to be off leash. So what happens when you off leash them too early, it causes them to be stressed and causes them to be a little bit confused about what they're supposed to do. So the rule should be that you don't off-leash your dog until your dog has turned a year old, or you have had your dog, adult dog if you have adopted for instance, you don't off-leash your dog until a year after you had your dog. So this helps you to also not only train your dog and help your dog to learn the behaviors that you want with control that you have on a leash, and then teach your dog what you want it to do when it's off leash. So there are some rules before you go ahead and off leash your dog. And the first rule was that you wait a year until you off leash your dog. The second rule is that you train your dog to become off leash trained dog, and then you off leash your dog. So what I mean by that is, what you do is you start basically training your dog with basic obedience, and then once you pass basic obedience, you go to the next levels of basic obedience. All this time you're still training your dog on leash, and then you start training your dog off leash. Everything that you know, you train them off leash. So you leash train them, and then off leash train them, and then you off leash them. So all this may take a year. So you take that year to off leash train your dog and then off leash your dog. So you don't want to have your dog off leash before your dog is not ready. So your dog needs to feel comfortable and confident enough to be off leash. Most dogs actually, they enjoy being on leash. It's the human or the dog owner who's not feeling comfortable or confident enough to keep the dog on leash. Now the reason I have Harvey off leash is because he has gone through this process. He's been trained, and he's been trained for 6 months with me, training him on leash and then off leash, and then I felt confident enough to off leash him. So now that he's off leash, I know that he doesn't go too far, and when I ask him to come or hang around, he just hangs around. So that's the confidence that I have, and you need to build that confidence in you and in your dog. And I know if something happens to Harvey or something goes wrong with Harvey, he's not going to run away, and he will come back to me. So the reason I come to a park like this, or I do a hike with Harvey in the park, is because I want to enjoy the hike, and I want Harvey also to enjoy the hike. So it's not that I'm saying don't go on a hike. What I'm saying is train your dog before you go on a hike. So whether your dog is off leash or on leash, there is a chance that they will develop bad behaviors. It has nothing to do with the leash. Bad behavior of a dog can develop when the dog is on leash. We call it leash reactiveness. And also it can happen when the dog is off leash. Actually, most of the bad behaviors are developed when the dog is off leash. What that means is when you off leash a dog who's not ready to be off leashed, they could go and do whatever they want. They could misbehave, and you can't really control them and teach them and stop them from misbehaving. So that causes the dog to learn bad behaviors that you don't want. It's not because the dog is either off leash or on leash that it may cause them to develop bad behavior. It's lack of training, lack of allowing the dog to learn to the rules of being on leash and off leash is that causes the dog to develop bad behavior. Dogs in general, they don't mind being on leash or off leash. Obviously they like to be off leash too. It's not that I say that they hate to be off leash. What I mean is they don't mind being on leash, under control. Most dog owners feel bad to have their dogs on leash. So when their dog is on leash, they feel that they're not giving them enough freedom. But don't feel bad. Your dog's safety should come first. If your dog is not ready to be off leash, don't feel bad or don't rush to off leash them. I know, especially on a day like this, you want to come out and bring your dog out and have it off leash and go for a jog or for a run or do fun stuff. Who can say no to this, right? I understand, but your dog may not be ready to be off leash. So you don't want to rush into it and jeopardize your dog's safety and health to off leash them because you feel bad not to off leash them. And if your dog is misbehaving on leash and is pulling on the leash and is not behaving properly, then that's a separate issue. You have to address that before you off leash your dog. So you want to address that and train your dog to walk properly on leash so your dog can understand the off leash rules. So you teach the dog the leash rules and then off leash rules. Not the opposite. Most dog owners, what they do, they off-leash their dog first, and then the dog learns bad behaviors, and then they start putting the dog on leash. So before you go ahead and off-leash your dog, ask yourself, is your dog ready to be off-leashed? Is your dog trained enough to be off-leashed? Most dogs are not ready to be off-leashed. Is your dog ready to be off-leashed? Does your dog know the rules of being off-leash? Does your dog know that it's not supposed to jump on people, it's not supposed to run after things, it's not supposed to chase things, it's not supposed to jump on other dogs and misbehave? If your dog knows these rules, then, and it's a good dog and it stays around and doesn't misbehave and listens to you, yeah, go ahead and off-leash your dog. Otherwise, keep your dog on leash. Safety comes first and then comes fun. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share, and comment. Do you off-leash your dog? Do you feel comfortable off-leashing your dog? And make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, so you won't miss high-quality content like this in future. And please let me know, what questions do you have? What do you want to learn about dogs? Let me know in the comments area, and I'll either answer them or make videos of them. Thank you very much. Until next time, have fun with your dog.